Angus MacKinnon Young, born on March 31, 1955, is an Australian musician renowned as one of the co-founders, lead guitarist, songwriter, and the only remaining founding member of the band AC/DC. He is known for his energetic performances, stage outfit of a school uniform, and his signature Chuck Berry-style duckwalk. In the 2023 edition, Rolling Stone magazine ranked Young at number 38 on their list of the 250 greatest guitarists of all time. Angus MacKinnon Young was born on March 31, 1955, in Glasgow, Scotland. In the 1950s, his family lived at 6 Scarivore Road in the Cranhill district of Glasgow. His father's name was William Young, and his mother's name was Margaret Young. Angus had 7 siblings. Cranhill was a tough suburban area inhabited by working-class families with high unemployment rates. Young began exploring the world of guitar at the age of 5 or 6, receiving his first touch from his brother, Alexander. After that, he embarked on his musical journey with determination, learning by himself. His first guitar was a cheap acoustic model bought by his mother from a flea market. However, the true turning point came when he purchased his first used Gibson SG around 1970 from a music store not far from his home. Both Young and Malcolm were part of a band with George and their musical companion, Harry Vanda, called Marcus Hook Roll Band. This project produced an album titled Tales of Old Grand-Daddy, in Australia. Young was 18 years old when he and Malcolm formed AC/DC in 1973. Young on lead guitar, Malcolm on rhythm guitar, Colin Burgess on drums, Larry Van Crite on bass guitar, and Dave Evans on vocals. The band's first single, Can I Sit Next to You Girl, was later re-recorded with Bon Scott as their vocalist. They decided on the name AC/DC, suggested by their sister Margaret, who saw the letters AC/DC on the back of her sewing machine. Before settling on his iconic schoolboy look, Young experimented with several stage costumes, including Spider-Man, Zorro, a gorilla, and a Superman parody called Super-On. These were suggestions from his sister Margaret. When his costumes became worn out, he resorted to using his uniform from Ashfield Boys High School in Sydney. AC/DC released their first album, High Voltage, in Australia on February 17, 1975. Over the next 3 years, AC/DC became famous as a hard rock band, especially in Australia, with albums like TNT, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, Let There Be Rock, and Powerage. All their albums up to that point were produced by their brother, George Young, along with Harry Vanda. In 1979, their studio album Highway to Hell became extremely popular and further elevated their fame. Several months later, Scott died from alcohol poisoning. There were questions about whether the band could continue without him. However, Young and the other band members decided to carry on with their work for a new album, so they replaced Scott with Brian Johnson from Geordie. 5 months later, Back in Black was released as a tribute to Scott. The album was highly successful, with sales far surpassing their previous albums and becoming one of the best-selling albums of all time. AC/DC's next album, For Those About to Rock We Salute You, further cemented their status as the most popular hard rock band of the time. In April 2014, Malcolm was forced to leave the band due to health issues, making Young the only remaining founding member. In May, it was announced that Stevie Young, Malcolm and Young's nephew, would replace his uncle to record AC/DC's latest album. In September, Malcolm officially retired, and Stevie was formally appointed as AC/DC's full-time rhythm guitarist. The band released Rock or Bust in the fall of 2014. In March 2016, after the departure of Malcolm Young and drummer Phil Rudd, AC/DC faced another loss. Longtime vocalist Brian Johnson was ordered by doctors to stop performing or risk total hearing loss. Determined to finish the tour they had started, Young recruited Guns N' Roses singer Axl Rose to replace Johnson for the remainder of the Rock or Bust World Tour. On September 30, 2020, the band's official Twitter account announced the release of a new album, Power Up, featuring the lineup of Angus Young, Stevie Young, Brian Johnson, Cliff Williams, and Phil Rudd. In 2003, AC/DC was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and a year later they ranked number 72 on Rolling Stone's list of the 100 greatest artists of all time. On May 16, 2012, Angus Young was named the greatest Australian guitarist of all time in a poll conducted by Australian Guitar magazine. In an interview with The Guitar Show, Young mentioned that his influences included his brother Malcolm, Chuck Berry, Freddie King, and Muddy Waters. Young also indicated that he was inspired by Keith Richards, as well as Chuck Berry's performance style. Young is known for his wild stage antics, such as jumping and running back and forth. Sometimes, he would climb onto Bon Scott's or Brian Johnson's shoulders during a concert, and they would walk through the audience with smoke coming out of a bag on Young's back, while he played an extended improvisational guitar solo. He often performed his own version of Chuck Berry's Duck Walk. In earlier years, he would sometimes take off his jacket and shirt in the middle of a song as a form of striptease.